Now, when you have a large number, it is very difficult. Sometimes it doesn't even fit on the calculator there. Imagine, I don't have a scientific calculator, that's a basic one. But if I want to write like 50 million on this or 500 million, probably will not fit. No, I couldn't write more than that number. That's it, it's full. And sometimes you have a small number, like if you take in chemistry, a charge of electron. Well, the charge of electron is a small number, it's this number. It's a minus, actually. We can put the minus in the front. I think something like this. And to write that number on any calculator is almost impossible. Or if you're talking about Bill Gates, how much is he worth? The goal is about $75 billion. Not millions, billions. That's too large of a number to fit on a calculator. That's too small of a number to fit on a calculator. So we need a way to be able to write these big numbers, small numbers. What we use called scientific notation. And scientific notation, it says you can only have one non-zero digit to the left of the decimal point. One, just one, can't have two. And it can't be zero. Non-zero digit to the left of the decimal point. Now, if I look at Bill Gates' income, that's this one here. Where is my decimal point? My decimal point is all the way at the end, right here. And this one says the digit to the left of that decimal point cannot be a zero. So I gotta move that decimal point. I can't stop here because that still leaves a zero. I gotta keep moving it to where? I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can't stop it. That leaves two digits to the left of the decimal point. I got to go right there. So that number can be written as what? 7.5 times 10 to the power. How many times we moved it? 3, 6, 9, 10. So you can write that number 7.5 times 10 to the power of 10. Three, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I think I need one more zero here. I think the electron, it's all right, leave it there. I think it's 10 to the minus 19. So to write that number in scientific notation, I got to move the decimal point all the way to the right. So that would be 1.62 times 10 to the power. Since I'm moving it to the right, it has to be negative 18. I'm going to move it 18 places to the right. So what about this number? To change this to a scientific notation, you're going to write that as what? You got to move your decimal point how many places? I can't stop here. I can stop right there between the 4 and the 5. So it's 4.57. Since you're moving it to the right, that's 10 to the negative. How many places did you move it? 3. Two, 4, 8, 1, 0, 0, 0. To change it to scientific notation, my decimal point right now is at the end. I gotta move the decimal point how many places? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll be 2.481 times 10 to the power of what? Positive 6. A lot of times when we do in physics, for example, when you put charges next to each other, there's a force between them, and the force might fit that equation. You don't have to know the equation. K times Q1 times Q2 divided by R squared. K is a constant, which is 9.0 times 10 to the 9. Q1 is the charge of the value of the first charge. Let's say it's 1.5 times 10 to the negative 12. Q2 is 1.43 times 10 to the power of negative 9. And let's say the distance between them R is 0.005, which is 5.0 times 10 to the power of what? Negative 3? Now, if you want to calculate that force, you'll definitely need a calculator for that. 9.0 times 10 to the 9. Q1 is 1.5 times 10 to the negative 12. Q2 is 1.43 times 10 to the negative 9. All of that divided by R squared. Now you definitely need a calculator for these things. And I don't have one. Damon, do you have yours with you? I'm trying to use a basic one just to show you how do you type these numbers on a calculator. Does it show up here? I'm going to write the first one. Notice I'm going to write the first one. I'm going to write 9 point, oh, gotta turn it on first. Clear. 9.0. And I need to write times 10 to the power of 9. On the calculator, there is either EXP or EE. This one has EE on it right here, but it's in blue. Second, I just hit that key. 9. That means 9.0 times 10 to the 9. Times. Next number is 1.5 times 10 to the negative 12. I go 1.5 EE. Negative 12. Times 1.43 EE. Negative 9 equals. And notice it's giving me the answer in scientific notation. It says, when you do the math on this, the top is going to equal to 1.9305 times 10 to the negative 11. Let's do the bottom. 5.0 EE to the negative 3. And you need to square that, so hit the square button. Notice the calculator is not set up to be in scientific notation. So it's giving me a number that's not in scientific notation. To change it to scientific notation, I got to move the decimal point how many places? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has to be between 2 and 5. So it's 2.5 times 10 to the negative 5. And now I just got to divide them. Here we go. Let's divide these numbers. 1.9305 EE negative 11 divided by 2.5 EE negative 5 equals. And again, the calculator is always going to go to non-scientific mode unless you put it in scientific mode. So I got to move the decimal point between the 7 and the 7 all the way there. You can only have one non-zero digit to the left of the decimal point. So I got to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Negative 7. But make sure you know how to use your calculator. Each calculator is different, scientific notation. Some use EXP, some use EE. Some you have to hit the second key to get to it. It's in blue. Some calculator in yellow, straight. You don't hit the second key, so each calculator is different. But we use scientific notations all the time, in lots of places. The other thing, you should be able to go back and forth between scientific versus non-scientific. Again, if I want to take this number and write that in non-scientific notation, that means I got to take that decimal point, move it which way? To the left how many times? 7 times. To the left. That'll be 0.000000772. I got to move it to the left 7 places there. What happens if you don't have a fancy calculator to do the math? It really doesn't matter. You can do this math in your head, not in your head, but you could do it just, notice if I write these numbers, and let's say the only calculator I have is this orange one I'm going to pull out, the one that they give you at the bank when you open an account with them. You put $10 in your account, they give you a calculator like this, basic. Add, subtract, divide, multiply, and square root, and percent. That's it. And I want to do that problem. Well, before we tackle that problem, how would you solve this problem? 10x squared divided by 2, well, 10x to the 20th divided by 2x to the 7th. How would you do that? What about the numbers first? Divide the numbers. 10 divided by 2, which is what? 5. And what do you do with the exponents? Subtract them. 20 minus the 7, which is what? 13. Well, this is the same thing. You can divide the numbers and what do you do with the exponents? You subtract them. So it's negative 11 minus a minus. What's minus a minus going to make it? Plus 5. Divide the numbers, subtract the exponents. Let me go to this cheap calculator and just divide the numbers. 1.9305 divided by 2.5. It's 0.7722 10 to the negative 6. Notice this number is not in scientific notation. Why? Because the digit to the left of the decimal point is a 0. Can't be a 0. So I can take this one and change it to scientific notation by moving the decimal point one place to the right. And again, times 10 to the negative 6. And when you multiply, what do you do with your exponents? Add them. Was that the same answer we got before? Again, let's try another one. I'll use the cheap calculator here intentionally. Right here, Damon. You can have your calculator. Thank you. I want to show you don't need anything fancy to do these problems. I'll mix and match even modes. 5,200 times 1.7 times 10 to the power of 5 divided by 4,396,000,000. I can change everything to scientific notation. The 5,200, I can write that as what? 5.2 times 10 to what power? What is it? This number. Third. Times 1.7 times 10 to the 5th. All divided by, I got to change this to scientific notation. The decimal point is here. I got to move that decimal point how many places? 6, 7, 8. Notice when you move the decimal point to the left, the exponent is positive. When you move it to the right, the exponent is negative. I need to multiply the two top numbers. I'm using my cheap calculator. I only have to multiply these two, the 5.2 times the 1.7. What's 5.2 times 1.7? There's my cheap calculator. 5.2 times 1.7 equals 8.84 times 10. When you multiply, what do you do with your exponents? Add them. What's 5 and 3? 8. 4.396 10 to the 8th. When you divide the numbers, subtract the exponents. Divide the numbers. 8.84 divided by 4.396, 2.010919, I guess, times 10 to what power? What's 8 minus 8? 0, which is a 1. So your answer is 2.01. Depends if you want to round it or not, you know. So this is scientific notation, really. Again, the purpose of that, we deal with large numbers, small numbers. We want to make sure when you deal with these numbers that you can fit these numbers on your calculator.